Okay. So, yeah, so why is energy so important for us at this time? And so that's the biggest motivation for me right now because the more we're growing right now as people, there's so much changes going on around us and it's so rapid and everything, and we are energetic beings and we're being pushed around, pushed and pulled. There's a lot of movement that pushes us. There's a collective flow that pushes us and affects us. So becoming aware of our own energy and the energies around us is probably the most important tool that we as humanity are starting to become more aware. It's becoming more relevant for people at this time that this is important. And this is one of the reasons why maybe healing practices or self-awareness is becoming a really important, trendy topic all around the world. So that's my intention today, just bringing some foundational language to why energy is so important besides becoming more spiritual, aware, and all that. So I'm going to do a little presentation so I make sure I stay in topic because I can really go anywhere. So I'm going to share my screen. Where'd this go? Okay. Okay, can you all see?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So emotion code, releasing what no longer serves you. So this is part one of this foundational energy understanding. And this is focused on emotions. So just briefly about me, I know some of you do know me, some of you might not. This is a picture of me before I was aura transformed, which is the topic that is next. This is in 2021. This was a really sensitive journey time for me where I was already becoming more aware of my energy, becoming more aware of like pretty much just becoming aware that there's more to life than just this physical world. And this high awareness that is coming in for all of us can be really beautiful and powerful and amazing and exciting. But at the same time, if we don't have a strong foundation, it can really crumble us. What is foundation? Foundation is those our inner core that holds us when stuff goes wrong, when people reject us. How do we respond to that? When life gets shitty and heavy, how do we respond to it? That's our foundation. And in that foundation, when we become aware of the the BS that is happening in the world, and when we become aware that there's more to life, we become aware of people's real intentions, we become really sensitive. We become more sensitive. And if we don't have that strong core, that can really crumble us. And this is me in that time where I was like, ooh, life is suck. Like life sucks right now really bad. I didn't even like what I was doing, even though engineering was beautiful and I understood it and I was good at it. So I have a master's degree in civil engineering and I worked for a few years, 5 years. My whole life, I've always been very hypersensitive since a young age. I was able to really sense people and this really comes from not feeling safe in the world. We become more hyper tuned to what are people thinking, what are people feeling, and it becomes a gift once we know how to manage it. But hypersensitivity can also really weaken our sense of self and our core and our self-esteem if we don't have parenting and teachings at a young age of how to support that. So as a hypersensitive human, I didn't have much support. So that led to a lot of low self-esteem and led to a lot of painful heartaches in my life. Another thing in the positive notes, I became really passionate on energy flows during my master's degree of civil engineering. This is when I started really tapping into like my higher consciousness, tapping into an energy flow that is more peaceful and more in alignment with this clarity and focus that I was like super amazed by. And I started tapping into in my master's degree. I was like, whoa, I really have to start tapping on this flow again and again. But it only happened in exams or when I really needed it. I would breathe, and then all of a sudden, this inner trust, and this didn't happen to me before. I would freak out in exams. But all of a sudden, I was tapping into this flow, and this flow led me to become more like into, I realized that there's more information inside of me, more wisdom than in books. So I'm going to study this inner wisdom more than books. And I realized that this inner wisdom that I was tapping into is the root of, is the source where we connect, where we get engineering, because I was really getting answers from this flow. Answers were coming in really easily. So I realized that when we're in a peaceful state, in a trusting state, life is easier, we get solutions, problems are not that dramatically horrible, and life is better. But I wasn't able to tap into this inner peace all the time. So I became obsessed and I started studying breath work, healing, all this stuff. It led me to healing eventually because of that thing. We become very aware of that consciousness, but as soon as we become aware of that consciousness, we start needing to heal because we have clutter and baggage that is in the way of us having a strong root foundation to carry that strong awareness. That big awareness needs a foundation. So I now, through all the processing and modalities that I've attracted, emotion code or transformation, I've also studied hypnotherapy. All these tools that I've learned and that I've worked with have really made it so clear why building inner foundation is so important. So that's my focus in my role right now as an engineer that really understands flows and is very hyper focused and very multi-sensory of the world. I feel we need more inner foundations than trying to be very high frequency. I know a lot of things and I can connect with all this stuff. So it's more important to have that strong foundation, and those high frequencies come in easier because we're tapped into that strong core. So, value of building a strong core is my purpose right now in the journey that I'm feeling led to right now. And this is a picture of me after becoming a practitioner and doing all the healing practices. Here I'm diluted, my energy is super diluted, and here I'm more filled up. My body's still going through changes and healing because this time was like 5 years of pain and heartache. So, the flow intention of this presentation is really give an introduction of the language and framework of our energetic system through our emotions. Understanding the language of our energies becoming more important than ever before. Why mastering our emotions matter. Emotions don't just disappear, they get stored in the body. So emotions are energy in flow. And they do filter, they become filters of how we think, how we feel, and respond to life. So unprocessed emotions can lead, because of these filters, can lead to a leaky energy, meaning we have this trapped emotion of abandonment. So then we are looking for people not to save us and not abandon us, which leads to a leaky energy because then we're people pleasing. Then we're doing this. So we're giving energy out for free just to get something back. So it's a leaky energy. It's very draining to have unprocessed emotions in our energy. It leads to fatigue. It leads to emotional triggers, repetitive emotional triggers, and a lot of mental chatter. Because the subconscious mind can be very noisy. It's the one that goes to sleep and is talking all day. So releasing trapped emotion creates space. So that's the feeling that we get when we release trapped emotions. We feel we're expanding, we feel more space. Oh, I have more space to think my own thoughts. I have more space to feel more clear. And we don't get that much triggers anymore. We only get triggers on things that we got to work on, but it's not like triggers on repetitive cycles. So we get more confidence, more ease. Our energy field holds past conditioning. So this is what it's happening in the world right now. A lot of changes are happening and we're being led to declutter ourselves. So a lot of past conditioning is being shed right now. We're so mad at the government systems. We're so mad at this. It's all about this change that we're going through. We gotta release that past conditioning. It's natural what we're going through. We just have to really just tap into our core and strength and really understand that we're just shedding things. Strengthening and decluttering this past conditionings that we also have, it helps us naturally to reclaim our authentic self and true power. It naturally strengthens our core foundation. By decluttering this, we start sensing, oh, this is what I really love. We're not leading our life through those filters. Okay, so emotions, personal flow. It's personal flow. It's our personal flow. So it's like the water, it's our emotions. It's how we flow in life and how we adapt and find balance in all situations. So our emotions act as messengers in signaling of our needs, our boundaries. When we get angry, if we suppress it, we might be suppressing a really important signal of I need more boundaries, or I have a trapped emotion that needs to be released. So it's a really valuable, and we have to really listen to our emotions because they're really always signaling something. So when our emotions are fully processed, meaning that they flow through us, guiding us through clarity. We feel the emotion and we get the clarity. We're like, okay, this is not where I'm going. I'm actually going to do this. I'm actually going to take this action. And fully processed emotions become actually clear signaling and guidance of where we're going. Like when we have excitement, we don't think about what we're gonna do. We just go and do it and it works out perfectly. That's being in the flow of our authenticity. Like when we're following that guidance, we don't need to plan logically how it's gonna look and how it's gonna be. It's a feeling of trust and knowing in that force. That is our force. That's our emotion of trust, our emotion of excitement. This is the right thing, guiding us to go there. But when we have filters, that can be misled. Oh, maybe I'm being led to people please somebody, or I'm being led to something. So those filters can really distort what we are manifesting. And this is why sometimes we manifest things that we're like, oh, actually, I didn't want that now. However, when they are suppressed, unprocessed, and inherited, they can become trapped in our energy system, leading to emotional, mental, and even physical imbalances. So trapped emotions, when we have really strong emotional experiences, and our life right now, we have already trapped emotions that have been passed down through generations, causing patterns and emotional distress within families, like phobias. Oh, I inherited like claustrophobia from my mom, and my mom inherited from their parents. We do get passed down trapped emotions that we can release. It doesn't have to be like that. We can break that cycle. And also that baggage that we come with that was inherited or from a past life can also help for us to trap other emotions, because sometimes it's not just the world that we're living that doesn't allow us to process the emotion, but it's also that we have a system that is already cluttered and it doesn't allow for us to process that emotion. So that will make more sense when I talk about aura transformation in our energy system. But for now, understanding that trapped emotions are unresolved emotional energies that get stuck in the body. They can really affect our physical, they can create physical symptoms, even illnesses. And when we experience strong emotions, the energy can become trapped instead of fully processed. I already mentioned that. Okay, yes. So if we don't follow our life truth, like our inner truth and our code of ethics, like our authentic calling, this also creates imbalances. So we can release a bunch of trapped emotions and feel free. But if we don't work towards taking action towards our truth, we can recreate those imbalances again. So I feel emotion code is also like really useful to understand what our code of ethics are. Because when we are detecting, and I'm going to talk what emotion code is moving forward, but when we are detecting these imbalances, we're also learning, ooh, this imbalance was created for not following my truth. This imbalance was created for not speaking up or for not sitting with that grief when I needed to sit with that grief, etc., etc. Trapped emotions affect us because they disrupt the body's natural energy field that is meant to be just a harmonious flow. It causes physical discomfort, pain, even disease. It interferes with organ function. Actually, our organs are the ones that process emotions. They store, process emotions, and they also create them. So when we have liver problems, usually it would be really helpful to work with emotion code because actually releasing it can give space for it to heal itself. And also we tend to see when we're working with the liver, we're releasing like anger, repression of anger, resentment, which are all natural emotions that we're here to live, but we're not meant to suppress it. It can be inherited from parents and ancestors. Trapped emotions distort the energy field, interfering with the body's ability to function normally and to self-heal. This is one of the reasons why emotion code is super beneficial for healing, because as we release these imbalances, we are creating more space for self-healing, which is our natural gift. It's our natural body works. So benefits of releasing trapped emotions is improved physical and emotional health, increased clarity and emotional resilience because we're removing that baggage that we're sensing all the time, relief from chronic pain and tension, strengthen immune system, breaking generational emotional cycles. And for example, a single trapped emotion release has been observed to improve the function of the immune system. It is noticed in emotion code by the case studies that the more trapped emotions that we release, our immune system improves, and also our energy frequency, because we're not feeling that lower frequency from that emotion. So emotion code is an energy healing modality developed by Dr. Bradley Nelson that identifies and releases trapped emotions. And this is done by the subconscious mind. So by communicating with the subconscious mind through muscle tests. So muscle testing, does this person have this back pain because of a trapped emotion? Yes. Okay, is this trapped emotion? And then we go through a table of trapped emotions, and then I go A, B until I get to the trapped emotion, and then we detect when this person attract this trapped emotion. Oh, it was in 1990 when they got married, and then right away, instinctively, the person goes, like the subconscious starts speaking to the person. Yes, I know why I had that anger or that disappointment. And there's beauty and power when the person knows what happened to them. So the imbalance is out. And then we just, with a magnet or with our hands, we go through the meridian and we just release the trapped emotion. So this is based on Chinese medicine and kinesiology and meridian. So we are just washing over, and it just washes over, it just deletes, dissolves. It's ready to be taken out. We're not meant to keep it. That's the beauty of our energy. And this just says so much on how powerful our body is and how much it wants us to release things. Okay, let's just move to the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind stores all memories of our life and our health. So we ask the subconscious mind anything, and the subconscious mind knows. Like we can ask, but it's very structural because the subconscious mind doesn't understand mind chatter talk, like it doesn't understand messy conversation. It's just really precise yes or no questions. So we can, and also percentage. It's like a computer. It's like our inner computer system. So we can even ask percentage of things. How is our immune system from 1 to 100, from 0 to 100% being completely optimal? And we can tap into that and ask what's the percentage. And this doesn't have to be fixed, but it gives us an idea of how the system is and what we can do. Can we release any trapped emotion to increase this immune system percentage? And it's really interesting. It reveals so much. It has revealed through a lot of studies that trapped emotions really lower our frequency and cause us to make decisions that are not proper for us, and it really lowers our vibrational field. But when we release this, it has been observed how much it improves our energy and our way of living our life and tapping into ourselves. So this leads me to heart wall, which is an interesting topic. It's actually what led me to emotion code because I was working on my heart. And it seems that the subconscious mind and the subconscious system, our inner system, is so intelligent that when we go through really tough time in our life, it remembers it and it will do anything to protect us from that. And it is our duty as evolved humans nowadays, right now, really important to become aware that we are meant to unprogram, like program our system to be more empowered and less hiding and less survival programming. So we've been living in a very survival way of living. So our subconscious mind will do anything to protect us. And a heart wall is one of this protecting mechanisms that we found that Dr. Bradley, with his heavy studies of years with emotion code, found out, which is that heart walls are formed. So trapped emotions, when we go through heartache and really painful experiences with the heart, the trapped emotions will like create walls around the heart. And this they call heart walls, and they form. So it's forms of trapped emotions accumulated as a protective barrier around the heart. This is a defense mechanism that develops after heartbreak or emotional pain. It can block love, connection, creativity, making it difficult to receive love fully and limiting our spiritual connections. So a lot of people, I don't know if you've heard this, but a lot of people that are not connected to their heart, they're mostly mental people. They tend to not even connect with their emotions. And this is one of the reasons why they can't connect with their spirituality. We are all spirit beings, but a lot of people cannot connect with their spirituality because they've pretty much blocked their heart. So once we release this heart walls, it leads people to be more open to it. It doesn't immediately for everybody give that spiritual connection because not everybody is meant to go on that path completely 100%, but it does make them more empathic and somehow more spiritually connected to themselves in their own language. So it's really interesting the benefits of heart walls. So I'm just going now to just share a bunch of testimonies that I've found really interesting besides, and then we can go on questions because this topic is mostly to be experienced and felt, but the testimonies do speak a lot. So with Heartwall, there's a testimony of someone that had came to the office of Dr. Nelson, and he said that her face, all her half of her body felt like it was numbed, and she thought she was gonna have a paralysis. And he thought it was delicate, that whole topic, because he was still new with emotion code. But she was like, I trust you, please do this. And if anything, across the street is a hospital, just check this out. And as soon as he released Heartwall, because he already had the Heartwall figured out, because that was like a discovery through his journey. It's not something that he already knew. But he went into the Heartwall and he started releasing imbalances for the Heartwall. And it was all about an old marriage that she was already done. She went through therapy. She thought it was done, but it was not done. And it was still affecting her. As soon as he released that, the thing went away. Her body went normal. And not only that, but eventually, after she left pretty happy and beautiful, like she was like, whoa, he was whoa as well as wow. How can a heart wall create such a like paralysis? It almost looked like a heart attack or something, and because it was a left arm and stuff. And but she came back after telling him that release of Heartwall got her to meet the right person and feel more fully with her partner, her next partner. So she was able to really be done with her experience. So that was really interesting for me with Heartwall. With Heartwall, I will say that my testimonies within my experience of Heartwalls have been people feeling more less attached to their spouses fight, like the fights that people have with spouses. They tend to be more like they let go of whatever trigger they were having with their spouses. So I've done this with a lot of marriage couples. Not with both of them, but with one of them that they tell me, oh, this and that. And some triggers may lead for them to separate, but thank goodness for me, the ones that I've worked with, if that happens, that's what it's supposed to happen. But for me, it's what's happened is that they become a little bit better. Actually, the husband starts treating the wife better, and she's, whoa. But it's because she's not so there's something energetically that can attract also people to treat us shitty. So when we release that baggage between relationships, it can really ease some pain. So that's been the biggest. I did have someone important in my life that released a heart wall from someone that she thought she was never gonna get over this man. That man was like the love of her life. He was the one and this and that. And finally, after 3 sessions of Heartwall, she's, oh, I don't even think about him. Oh, that was so it's amazing. It was incredible to get rid of that because that was, yeah. So Heartwalls, that's been for me that the intention for my own experience. It was beautiful, but it was more spiritual and more connecting with myself and more connecting with my inner child and being more soft. So that was for me like my experience with it. With other physical pain, I've had physical pain that I've released with emotion code, and it has actually benefited my triggers in work, in places that I was triggered every second. And then all of a sudden, just releasing a pain that I had in my liver area became like an inner peaceful response after at work. And I also had a phobia that I released, not a phobia, it was a PTSD thing with a word that I couldn't hear from a doctor place that I experienced in my teenage years. And every time I saw that illness name, I would have a panic attack. And I never knew I could release it. And once I released it, it's been years that I had that for, and I ignored it. I didn't know it was PTSD. I just ignored it, but ran away from the word completely all the time. Ran away from that, would shake and feel really uncomfortable. Released it. It was definitely a heavy release because the next day I felt really processing. And then after that, it's been opened. I feel more open to talk about it. It's more than just releasing that PTSD, but it's if there's more opening for less fear around hovering us, less fear and limitations. I've worked with clients with grief as well. Grief has been pretty powerful and I don't recommend people to do grief right away. We're supposed to go through it, through the emotions, but if the thing is not helping within the next 3, 4, 5 months, I would say 6 months would be the best. If it's still there in a really painful way, almost like they're still reliving that. So I worked with somebody that was 6 months and she couldn't even see the picture of her parents. And we released, and in one session, she was like, oh, I can see the picture of my parents and just smile with love. Of course, I feel sadness, but I don't feel this sorrow, doom, because she was doomed. It was like every day she didn't want to go out, she didn't want to do anything. Those are like the heaviest. I have worked with people with lupus and gone from positive to a negative result in blood tests once they checked, or once they did their exam. I don't know if it's a blood test. I've worked with cancer patients and I trust this method, but there's always with cancer patients, if they're doing treatments and stuff, there's other influences and stuff. So I do trust that it helps at least whatever healing process they're going through. I've worked with creatives, with people that have problems taking exams, with people that have marijuana addictions, including myself. I didn't have a marijuana addiction, but I did smoke marijuana a lot before. But I've worked on myself having anxiety. and with marijuana, and it releases it right away. Or any anxiety. If I sit in the computer and I'm really anxious because I have a lot of things that I want to do, I don't like anxiety, so I release it. And usually it gives me a lot of insight. I'm like, ooh, creative insecurity. Oh, I feel unsupported. So then I start supporting myself. I'm like, oh, I gotta support myself. But I do release the imbalance, but I also make sure that it gives me insight of how I can maneuver my life in a way that it won't recreate that imbalance. So it's a really insightful modality that it's also a book that we can buy and read about it. So, yeah, I can go on with testimonies. There's more. I've worked with OCD and all types of things, but I do want to leave space for you guys to talk or share something or ask questions if you want.
Gabby, this is David. There were two slides that kind of stuck out to me. I'm looking at them right now. Just really just that trapped emotions part piece where if there's something that you just really haven't fully resolved, a lot of physical symptoms can come about from that, right? Obviously, increased stress and fatigue, really. You don't realize it. I always felt like if I was fatigued, that was because it was something that I did physically, right? Maybe you ran X number 5 miles and you worked out, right? Or did just or you moved or something that was physically exhausting. And it took me a long time to realize that I could also be physically fatigued from not processing things that are around, right? And
Yeah.
not processing what's deep down. So I think for me, once I like realized that, that allowed me to address what the problem was and try to resolve naturally too. I just wanted to throw that out there. I thought that those two slides in particular really were speaking to me, and I
Yeah.
absolutely relate to that.
Yeah. So, yeah, for sure. Like, I think that emotional intelligence, we starts tuning in when we start also like naturally, like you say, noticing that, oh, our body, why am I tired because of this? We start noticing patterns and we start realizing, oh, this works better. And stress is probably one of the things, one of the major topics all over health and wellness fields, because stress is like when I would go to the doctor, oh, I have a pain here, oh, stress. Then, oh, I have a pain over here, oh, stress. I was like, I was young and I loved medical school, and I was like, really? Everything's stress? This sucks. But and it is, but it's interesting because there are things that physically we can move around, and that's why releasing emotional imbalances also has to do with working out. So if we're very physical humans, a massage can release some emotional imbalances. Go and work out, running, doing exercises can release some of this. So this is really helpful. But when it comes to inherited imbalance, when it comes to really hidden patterns, this is when the matter becomes, because and there's symptoms for it. And the biggest symptoms, the symptoms that are major for important ones, is we have to really look deep, but it has to be like, am I creating everything that I think I could do? Do I have the most optimal, or what triggers am I having? Like really being observant of our life and seeing the symptoms and presenting this for me. Learning this has made me aware of these things. Like even the people I work with, they come back to me and they're like, I have an emotional imbalance because I have a symptom. You start noticing what is what is an imbalance, what's a symptom of an imbalance. And there are imbalances that we're not meant to do ourselves. There are imbalances that I muscle test, and I won't go into it. It has to be someone else to get to it because it's so deep that our emotional, like our subconscious mind will try to trick us. So it won't give it to us. So this is what many healers or clairvoyants call the hidden parts of us, the hidden spots. They're meant to, this is why the reason why we're meant to work with other people to heal sometimes, because we cannot do it ourselves, everything. Not everything we're meant to be doing ourselves. We're meant to have support and helpers release the hidden ones, the blind spots. I don't know if that gives you a little bit more insight, but I definitely agree with that. And that's the best way. That's like emotional intelligence to maneuver through stress and all that stuff.
Yeah, and one thing you said as far as talking it through with someone else, obviously you try to resolve it yourself, but I think just repeating or talking through it and with someone else, like a professional or like you get that affirmation that, hey, this is like a real thing to work through and working at together with you. Obviously, we can think and be like, oh, yeah, it's something. I understand it's an issue. I understand it's a problem. Get through it. Sometimes we beat ourselves up that we're still worried about something like that. And then just talking through it again with you with that affirmation piece really helps aim to close the door on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Also the energetic perspective of it, which I can sense like when I release someone else's emotion, sometimes during the session, people start feeling like, oh, I have a headache. Oh, I'm feeling sleepy. This is because we're releasing that baggage, depending on what it is. But doing the tangible releasing of the imbalance, actually, this modalities, we don't talk that much. This is no therapy or anything. Like people can share what they felt, and I can be open so I know what's coming to me. But then after that, I'm not talking to them. I've worked with people with heavy depression and I release stuff and I see how they open up, but they still have some mental patterns that they need to work on. And I'm like, okay, therapy. So it's useful for the mental patterns to talk, but this is non-talkative. Actually, even aura transformation, it can be completely in silence. The reason why aura transformation is very talkative and emotion code is not meant to be talkative, but it's meant to be detecting because there are some imbalances that were meant to become aware. Hey, this you did this time, you attracted this. And it's, ooh, and then we release. It helps release. But at the end of the day, this is completely energy work. It's energy work that's ancient, that's been worked. It is connected to meridians, to chi, the qigong, and like energy flows and all this stuff, and acupuncture. It's all connected. It's the same thing. I even see acupuncture as forcing the body with needles to do that flow. While with kinesiology, we're just intentionally, with our intention, forcing that. Like, and intention is so important for energy healers. If we have that intention and that faith and trust, you can move anything. And this is one of the reasons why I'm sharing this, because we are meant to become more aware that our intention is so powerful and that we can move energy and we can actually become more sovereign in our energy field just by becoming more aware. So this is a complete energy practice though. It's not non-talkative. A little bit, but it's not therapeutical. Yeah. Any other questions that come up or that came up?
I really like oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alejandra. How you described it as the heart wall, because I've had so many practitioners talk about it in different ways. And the most relevant or immediately relevant is I have a frozen shoulder, and I actually was getting treatment on it earlier today. And I went to go see a Rolfer last year who was telling me that she sees a lot of frozen shoulder clients coming out of deep emotional pain. And which is my case. It's the continuation of a hard divorce journey. And it's just so true that what we experience in the physical is so much an expression of our emotional bodies, and we undermine that in so many ways. So I like the heart wall. I really appreciate the imagery. Thank you.
Yeah, the heart wall is a really powerful one. And there's so many testimonies in the books. I didn't bring all of them because I don't remember all of them, but they are pretty powerful, even with kids. Kids can have heart walls, and emotion code is super beautiful on kids. They respond quick, like they feel it, they get it. And animals too. Animals have a different system. I've worked with animals, and they're so beautiful. They come to you, they say thank you. They're just so sensitive. They know that you've released something for them, and they're just incredibly amazing. But yeah, the heart wall is a powerful tool. And I find this tool really powerful and complementary with marriage and with a lot of things actually. But I have found most of my clients somehow, somewhere, they don't come with that intention of working on their marriage, but somehow it always comes up. And I always end up working on some marriage thing, even if it's hidden, like their relationship is fine, and then somewhere something comes up, and I'm like, okay, it's really useful. Yeah. Anything else?
Hi, Gabby.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alejandra, and I've done actually a couple of emotion calls with Gabby for the past like 2-3 years, I think.
Yeah.
So more than question, I would like to share. When I just started, first I didn't know anything about emotion code, and then I was introduced about this because of Gabby, and then I was going through a season in my life for that time where I am an artist, a musician, creative, and in that moment I was like in a point where I wasn't quite following that 100%, and I knew it, but I didn't know what to do to go back on track in my desires in my life. And I was like depressed. I was having a lot of anxiety. I was smoking nicotine and stuff. And I wasn't like open, and I didn't know how to process my emotions on that time. So I remember that the first sessions that we had was to work anxiety because I was really bad on anxiety for that time. And I remember the feeling of just being able to feel so quiet within myself. Like I wasn't having that rushing energy in my body. And I was like, wow, I didn't know I could feel this way. I didn't know I could be this quiet in my life. And then listening to you talking about how we create a space in all this, it makes so much sense how the emotion that is trapped just once we release it, we create that space, and so we have that natural healing state within ourselves. It makes sense for me right now after going through so many sessions. Those were one of the first sessions about anxiety, but then we were also like on stuff that happened to me when I was growing up as a little kid, families, like trauma or whatever was coming over the session. And I think one of the things that I liked about this modality, or whatever you call it, is that sometimes you need to know and sometimes you don't need to know. And I love that because sometimes we don't even remember, sometimes we don't even know what is it that triggered us in that moment. And we don't exactly need to understand what happens. And sometimes we don't really want to go through those places. Like if we had a trauma when we were little and we don't remember, and we don't want to remember either, we don't have to exactly go through that memory to release
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Not all the time. And also I like it that you can ask and you can like, it will tell you like, oh, you have to remember or you don't need to remember.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
will kind of tell you. And then we did a couple of sessions, and then I believed so much in this process because I felt it within myself that then I was like, and then when you told me that it works for animals, I started doing it for every animal in my family, like any pet in my family that I knew was going through something. I was like, hey, I'm gonna do an emotion call for my sister dog and blah blah blah. And it is so interesting because the next day, dog in a completely different mood. It's crazy. There was this dog my sister had, and he wasn't walking really well. And we did 1 or 2 emotion sessions. And the next day after the emotion sessions, he was like jumping and running. And we were like, what happened? It was because of the session. And then, yeah, so I really enjoy this and I'm happy you are doing this. And I wish many more people know more about all this.
Yeah, me too. No, and I'm super grateful that you brought animals. Like animals are so interesting and they teach us so much. We learn, like the owner learned so much of what brought those imbalances. And yeah, I could make a whole presentation on animal healing because it's interesting. It's a whole different perspective on stuff. But I was gonna say with detecting if we have to know or we don't have to know. It's really interesting, the sessions, but I don't control anything. And when as a practitioner, I have to be super neutral. Super, like the most neutral ever is when you get a strong muscle test, is when you get a clear muscle test. So if I'm like leaning towards an answer or something, and I'm never leaning to anything because I respect it and I understand this so much. but I don't control anything. So where we go and what we get, it's really the person's body and subconscious mind communicating, and we release what needs to be released. Sometimes I'll do a list of things in their life and statements, and then muscle test all of them. What is that we need to work with? If someone comes in with a lot of problems, I'll just muscle test what we need to work on. If people want to make their life more efficient, I'll double check, because sometimes people are paranoid. Oh, I think this and that. And I'm like, no, there's nothing wrong. And right away, they start glowing. Sometimes it's a lot of mental stuff that we tell ourselves. It's really interesting. Some people think they're very fearful. And then I'm like, actually, you're not that fearful. We just released one imbalance and you're good. And they're like, actually, you can see it in their face that they realize that a lot of it was the mental chatter that they have. So yeah, we don't get to choose that. The muscle test says if you need to know it or you don't. So some imbalances, unfortunately, if they're traumatic or not, we do need to know at least a year. But what I've also noticed is the subconscious, and Dr. Bradley also says, but it has guards. It's so intelligent. Our inner consciousness system is so intelligent that it won't reveal something that you don't want to reveal. It's like really private. If you don't want to reveal it, and I can sense too, I can sense people's, if something is delicate to them or if something is coming up heavy, I tell them, just think it in your mind, I'll muscle test it. Think the situation, they're thinking about it, and I'm like, I'll muscle test it. I'm like, no, it's not that. Think of the next one, and then like that. So you don't have to say anything to me. I can muscle test it with confidentiality unless people want to share it. That's the beauty of it, that at the end of the day, I'm not in control. The person is not in control. It's completely the subconscious leading the way. Any other questions or, I don't know, statements or anything?
I really like how concise the presentation was. It just felt it's hard to describe things sometimes. Like you can feel something or like you can think something, but you can't really put the blocks together. Like you can't really describe what you're feeling, but you're feeling a certain way.
Yeah.
I think sometimes trying to identify why you feel that way, or even sometimes you might know, like when you have a breakup and you've had time to like really process things out, and you think about these things, and sometimes you still feel like these emotions, and you think about like, why do I still feel this way? And sometimes I feel like you have to really dig deep in yourself. I think you have to really think about like who you are as a person, and just I don't know. It's a lot of different things, but I
Yeah.
really like the presentation. I really like how everything was very concise.
Thank you. I feel like there's a lot of information, but I do think it's important, and it does give like a visual. There's something about presenting the information that does give the insight of why and how. I feel like emotion code is super powerful, and I've used it even after my aura transformation, which is my next presentation. So I'm going to be talking next Wednesday. I'm going to talk about the vehicle of our consciousness, which is our aura system, and why is it so important, what the changes that are happening in the world right now, and why we're being led to have this upgrade in our system, or at least be aware of it. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting conversation, and it's a lot to do with our inner systems and how they are really influencing and affecting how we move and how we respond to problems and things in our life. Yeah, so today was really improvised, but at the same time, I'm happy to share something that it's valuable, and I found really valuable even after my aura transformation, insightful and really relieving, because I think I lived a lot of imbalances. Like I was cluttered, I was leaky, and yeah, and I had a lot of emotional baggage for sure. So I had triggers all over the place all the time. So I am free from that. And when I do, it's so more mature now. When I have to deal with some difficult emotion, I'm like, oh, is that mine? I actually tend to notice when it's not mine. I'm like, oh, that's not mine. And that's where aura transformation comes into play. And I will do a demo about it, because aura transformation makes us really aware of our energy and other people's energy. So it's like really differentiating what's ours, what's us, and what's not us, and really being disconnected from this collective flow that is forcing us to behave certain ways, do certain things, and follow like the mass in the crowd. So it's a different topic and it's interesting, and I'm going to try to keep the focus on bringing some foundation and also introducing our transformation, which is a very powerful permanent treatment that I find very helpful for all types of people.
Is the next week, same time, same day?
Yeah, at 3 p.m. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do we
Yeah,
have
if
to
you
go
can make
through
it.
the register process again, or with this we are automatically like?
No, you have to sign up on the next link. I will send it in an email. I'll make it easy for people because I should have done it all together, but I thought of it after. I'm like, oh, let me just make this a sequence so people, yeah, just to introduce it to people, but also I'm trying to leave some understanding of why our energy and understanding our energy is so important. So this is going to be more about owning our energy, which is the power or transformation. Owning our energy be more self-contained than spaghetti with other people. This is a concept that I've learned from a teacher. She always says spaghetti, but it's visual how our old system is very spaghetti with people. So it's like we are just people's energies in us, and our energies left with them. So we're just leaky all over the place, and we're trying to people please. We're trying to fit in. We're trying to do this, and it's just messy. And it becomes a lot more energizing when we have all our energy in and we have other people's energy out. It becomes like strong. So we become more resilient and clear. So it's bringing clarity of why energy is important, understanding our energy for our clarity, having like a different perspective other than being more spiritual, more something. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just email you guys and thank you for being here. And if you have any other questions or if you want to collaborate with me with practitioners that do refer, I would do a discount because I just want to make it available for people. And I think in my intention is to collaborate a lot with people. I feel like I haven't shared enough and I want to get that role. Like I want people to get to know this in a more easy way. And emotion code is not that hard, so I can charge a little bit less for a time until people get more influenced and more into it. Because there's many emotion code practitioners out there. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Gabby.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
All right. Have a good day.
Bye.
Yeah, you guys take
Bye.
care.